Hey Motley fans, welcome back. Thanks for being here. So let me take you back. It's 2006. I had pretty good seats for the Aerosmith and Motley Crue show. The best band I ever saw live. Definitely, hands down, Motley. The music that is undoubtedly the soundtrack to many people's lives, including my own, left an impression on me. A lot of good memories associated with that concert, as it is the one that's in my brain as the best. The Dirt book had come out years before that, and then recently the movie The Dirt came out. And I have to say, the movie was an enjoyable watch. But like all adaptions, liberties were taken, things were changed. It's just the way it is. So I'm going to say, if you have not read The Dirt, the book, I highly suggest it. It was also thoroughly enjoyable. I love that each band member would write a different chapter. It was from their perspective, which really gives it a completely different vibe and feel. And it was fun. It was, even as disgusting as some parts were to read, it was insightful. It gives you that no holds barred kind of nitty gritty. We're not holding back. We're telling you what kind of rock stars we were. We were the epitome of rock stars in the way that you think that a rock star would be. Just raucous, kind of gross, out there, just nothing they practically wouldn't do. It was intense. It was awesome. It was fun. It was shocking. And it was a very, amazingly, the book just flew by on the reading. So again, if you have not read the book, I highly, highly recommend it. The book honestly provides a very real example of their struggles, their pain, their victory, their highlights, their lowlights, and everything in between, in such a way that it really does flow. I really recommend reading it if you're a fan, if you haven't, because it really is a fun read and it's enlightening. Nikki Sixx, The Heroin Diaries. I did the audio version with him reading it, and I really, really recommend listening to that book that way, because having him actually read the book that he wrote, I think brings a wholly complete picture of what he went through, his struggles. I mean, the fact that he is still alive is bravo, and just the struggles that he went through in his life, and just the fact of how much drugs he really did, and the fact that he actually died, and the EMT in the ambulance was like, nope, I'm not having Nikki Sixx die in my ambulance. That's great. I mean, I love that he was able to overcome so much, and I love that now that he seems to be actually happily married after the third time, because his first two marriages just seemed, they really made me sad for him. But of course he has his children, and with every good comes, bad, good, And my heart went out to him so much on this book. I'm not even ashamed to admit that I was literally bawling by the end of it, because it was just so tragically beautiful, and then just triumphantly beautiful by the end. You know how we say someone's a rock star? Well, this man is truly a rock star. In both real life example and persona and everything in between. So I really just did not know what to expect on reading The Heroin Diaries, but I loved every minute of it. It was absolutely a beautiful experience, and I highly recommend listening to him read it. Okay, so if you haven't read Tommy Lee's book, Tommyland, I do recommend that as well. And this book definitely proves that Tommy Lee does, in fact, talk to little Tommy. Or his favored appendage. If you watched Pam and Tommy, you saw that. And I thought, oh my God, I could so see him doing that. And then I read his book after that when I started watching Pam and Tommy. And I was like, oh my God, that's great. Tommy's book was really interesting to me for several reasons. Much like the rest of the band members, I feel like they all kind of had sad relationships that were based on the wrong things. But I think Tommy, in terms of Tommy, I think he really did love Heather Locklear, and they tried. Then he found Pam. And I still maintain that they really had something. I think they connected on a level that he might not have connected necessarily with other people. But then again, every relationship, I think you connect differently on some level with everyone. But with Pam, I think they both had a very similar energy, and that's sometimes hard to match in a relationship. So I'm going to maintain that I really do think that they had something extraordinary. And I'm going to take it back to what I said in Pam and Tommy, my Pam and Tommy review for Hulu, is that it really, truly was the outside world that fucked them over. There is some interesting points regarding their relationship that he explained in his book. Now, this is going to be my possibly unpopular opinion about their relationship, because I know there's a lot of speculation about it. But there's a few things that actually stood out in my mind regarding the demise of their relationship. Now, of course, I'm going to preface this by saying this is information that I ascertained from both his book as well as the Dirt book. Now, I have tried to locate an interview or something with Pam telling her side of it. She has not written a book to my knowledge. She has not really given an interview explaining necessarily her side of this situation of where the demise of their relationship really happened. Now, I'm not saying that Tommy did not have a temper. He absolutely did. Now, I'm going to preface this. If the events happened the way he describes them in both books, I feel like things got blown out of proportion on Pam's end. He said in the book that she was very much not the problem type. She would run away from problems, and seeing her personality that I've noticed throughout the years, I can agree to that. Now, this is just what I know. This is just from the information that I ascertained from the book. I tried to find something where she told her side of it, and she honestly has not, that I am aware of. I have not been able to find that. Now, of course, she doesn't have to say anything, but when you're in the spotlight and there's one side of the story and you're not really telling your side of it, it doesn't tend to look good on the person not telling their side of it, that it can kind of play against you. And again, I'm going to say, if the events presented in both books are to be believed, if they are in fact true, and you take emotion out of this equation, it does not look good on Pam. Because there's some factors that really stood out to me in these books that were just like, oh, okay, that doesn't really add up. It's interesting because in the 90s, the sex tape was kind of, made out to be a joke. And that's why, again, as I said in my previous review for Pam and Tommy, I was very glad that it showed the criminal aspect, that this was a crime, and a lot of people did not take it that way. So I cannot imagine the scrutiny that one would be under. And again, to say that because she was in Playboy makes that tape that was stolen and released against their knowledge and will okay is just very disgusting. And I cannot imagine the scrutiny that would have come, the pressure, the stress, just every horrible feeling that one would experience going through that, having such an intimate moment for the world to see. And being a young woman who is trying to get her career, moving in a different direction from Baywatch at that time, this video really made things harder for her and to be taken more seriously. So with the events that Tommy described in his book, he said, yes, he did shake her, and he went to kind of kick her with his slippered foot in the butt. But he missed, and it was a moment of passion, which, I'm going to be honest, I have had probably worse fights than what was described in this book. So again, if these events are true, yes, he followed her into the room and she fell and broke a nail. Now, I can see a non-confrontational person being very upset about the situation. Seriously, I've had far worse fights than something that was described in this book, and nobody called the cops, okay? Now, I understand her young children were there. She was scared. Now, this is where it gets kind of sticky for me, because I want to preface, I'm saying this as in, if the events he described are true and you take emotion from this equation and you look at it logically, this is kind of what I got from it, because she immediately called the cops. She sold him out on the guns that he had in his safe, which was against his probation, I believe, at the time. Then he goes to jail. She presses charges. She never goes to visit him in jail. Okay, not once in his, I believe it was supposed to be 6 months. I think he ended up being there for 4 or 5. She never once went to go see him. There was news reports that she was already dating someone else. This all, to me, looked like, okay, is it possible that she was done, she was looking for a way out, and this was not only her way to get out and get full custody of her children, but this was also a way to take attention off the sex tape. She was trying to further her career, get attention away from it. If you looked at the facts the way it played out, if what he said is true, it doesn't look great on her. I mean, she had a restraining order against him. She never went to see him. She was already seeing someone else. And here's the thing, a lot of people want to say that he's an abuser. He was a passionate person, first off. And he did not have the proper outlet for that passion. That's why he was a drummer. That's why he dropped out of school. But here's the thing that also got me. He said in his book that she at the time had a therapist who literally told her to ignore him because, he got enough attention as a rock star. Now, first off, I've been with a lot of therapists throughout my time with therapy, and I gotta tell you, that's some of the stupidest advice I've ever freaking heard. Because even my current therapist is like, men need attention, men need that validation, even when they're not rock stars, first off. Secondly, this stemmed from Tommy's childhood with his family. They would ignore him when things got tense, and that would drive him crazy. So this was a very bad thing to do for someone like Tommy. And again, I mentioned it in my Hulu review that they even kind of illustrated that point where she ignores him and he flips out. According to Tommy in his book, she tried to even turn his own family against him at one point. Now, I'm not saying that's what she did. I'm saying this is what he expressed in his book. From what I understand, the time in jail really made him focus on certain things, get his head a little more right. But anybody being in kind of solitary confinement in a way, because it's essentially what he was in, I can't imagine, going from such a freedom of lifestyle to like being locked up. I mean, that would be hard on anyone's psyche. He deserves some sort of something. But here's the thing that really gets me about our justice system. Vince Neil, the lead singer of Motley, many of us know And for those of you who don't, I will explain it. I believe 84, early 80s. Vince Neil was having a party, he was drunk, and he decided to go on a beer run. And his friend, Nicholas Razzle Dingley, who was the drummer of the Finnish glam band Hanoi Rocks, was in the car with him. And he was very intoxicated, Vince Neil was, and they ended up getting into an accident where he killed Razzle. And he also left the two other people in the other vehicle brain damaged. Now, to give you some perspective here, let's remember, Tommy was in jail for several months, about 4 to 5 months. And this was for basically getting too excited and getting too passionate and being stupid and shaking Pam and kicking at her and being really frustrated with the situation that they were in. Versus Vince Neil killing someone while being drunk, brain damaging two other people. And if you don't know, Vince Neil was in jail for like 16 fucking days. I mean, that's fucked up. Tommy, on the other hand, was in jail for months. I mean, what the fuck, you know? I mean, to me, that is just the most bass-ackward shit. Because it's like, how is that even possible? Like, he killed someone. He left two other people fucking brain damaged. He pays $2 million to those people and is in jail for like 16, 17 days. And that's it. He did some community service. But I'm just like, what? Fun fact about Tommy, he almost married Prince's ex-wife, Métis. I apologize if I'm saying that incorrectly. I always found that to be kind of, what's that, 6 degrees of separation. I feel like Tommy is happy now in his current marriage. I feel honestly sad for him and Pam because I really feel like they would have had a much better shot at staying together. Had that tape not been released and stolen, it makes me sad for them because they were under so much more pressure than they needed to be. They were already celebrities, but then that tape just brought on a whole other world of pain, literally. And I want to say I am not minimizing Pamela's story or her feelings. As a woman, I can empathize with that. But what I'm saying solely is that if the events took place as he described them in his book, in both books, and you take the emotion out of it, it does leave one to logically think, okay, well, this does seem kind of odd. So again, I know this might be an unpopular opinion, but this is just something that my brain just kind of, the wheels were turning, you know? Because even at one point in his book, he mentioned something that was kind of funny because he was saying how she would go through a lot of nannies and they couldn't even keep a nanny more than like a week, which is funny because I did see one interview, I believe it was with Howard Stern, where she told him, I don't have nannies, I'm doing this all on my own. And I found that kind of interesting because in his book, he said they had a lot. And quite frankly, with her work in just being a single mom at that point, I just can't imagine her not having nannies. It was kind of like, wait a minute, that doesn't track with what I've heard. So it's just kind of interesting. Like, I'm not saying Tommy's a saint. On some level, he did deserve that. But then when you look at the Vince Neil being in jail for days versus his months for two extremely different crimes and horrendous events, I mean, it doesn't add up. So there's just a lot of things that don't add up here. Okay? That's all I'm saying. And I'll be honest, I tried to read Vince Neil's book, but it read more like a magazine article, like, because someone else was literally writing it for him, and he seemed very disinterested. So I might try to go back and read more later, but I just could not do it as of right now. Vince Neil is Vince Neil. He's a special one. But yeah, there is a quote that I want to leave you with from Mr. Mick Mars, which I give that man so many props. His story, I felt bad for him through the Dirt book because I think he's had so much crazy shit happen to him, and it's like with the women that he was with, and I feel like I hope he's happy now in his current marriage, and I just think it's amazing that with his health issues with his spine, I think he is just an absolute trooper. The fact that he's still able to play is just amazing, and he truly is one of the great talents. But I love this quote that he said: "Grown men who cry in the middle of a fucking crisis will die, because you can bet your ass that the enemy won't be crying." Mick Mars. Love that. So those are my thoughts. I hope you all enjoyed. Again, this is just my, thought process, not saying that it's what happened. This is just what I think. This is my opinions. Nobody, not blaming anybody, just kind of logically, this is what I took from the information that I read.